Okay, let's call this special council meeting to order for Tuesday, February 20, 2024. Ashley, can I have a roll call, please?
Kressel. Klatt. Menard.
Here.
Himma.
Here.
Jurdy.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
Briggs.
Here.
Cavalier.
Here.
Okay, this brings us to the regular agenda. We've got 2 items tonight. Ashley,
Yes, Your Honor. Item 3.01 is a resolution ordering improvement and preparation of plans.
thank you. Can I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So move, Your Honor. I'll second it.
Got Don and Clayton, thank you. Discussion.
Yes, this is a resolution that is subsequent to our having a public hearing, taking testimony at the hearing, and it is a resolution then ordering the improvements to be proposed to council, adopted in the resolution, designating Winseth to be the improvement engineer and to prepare plans and specs for the making of such improvements. And those contain all of the 5 projects.
Question, I don't know if it's gonna help the cost at all, but is it possible to do an alternate for the sidewalks on Houston Avenue? I mean, we just had some feedback regarding that. They think some of the homeowners think the sidewalks are okay down there, just questioning.
We can certainly look, you know, I know you brought it up that your sidewalk was recently repaired. We can certainly look at them, and if they're really in good shape, you know, there's no reason we can't leave them in place.
Okay,
You know, unless something comes up during construction that where we'd have to take some more out, but, yeah, if they've recently been replaced in the last 5 to 10 years, whatever, there's no reason we can't leave them in.
Would that affect how wide we're trying to do the road down there, or?
No, I don't believe so. We're not widening it out that much, and, you know, the side, they had a pretty good boulevard to begin with, so that shouldn't be a problem, so.
okay, thank you. Is there further discussion? Roll call, please.
Menard.
Aye.
Himma.
Aye.
Jurdy.
Aye.
Fisher.
I,
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 3.02 is a resolution approving plans and ordering advertisement for bids.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Don. Thank you. Discussion.
Yes, this is a resolution asking for plans and specifications. What we have here is the plans and specifications for Houston Avenue, North Broadway, 3rd Avenue, and Euclid Avenue have already been prepared. There is none that has been prepared for the Ag Road. So what I am suggesting, and what Rich and Chuck here will ask as well, is at this point in time, we remove from the order for plans and specifications and publication for bids the Euclid Avenue, Guthrie Street, and extension of the Ag Road of approximately 1,100 feet from this order. What that also would mean then is that if in the future, and one of the reasons is the Ag Road is potentially going to service the rail spur. Well, we won't find out until sometime in April whether that grant for the rail spur is forthcoming. So, because of that, we're asking this be removed, and if the grant comes through, plans and specifications can be prepared at that time. If we were to prepare them now, and then we had to make some alterations because of the grant, we'd be preparing them twice. In addition, the Euclid Avenue community, if you will, has suggested and in fact asked that they be excluded from the street construction now, the new street construction. And I have Chuck, who's like to talk about this, as well as Rich, why they are recommending we be removing these from our order for plans and specs.
Yes, as far as the Euclid construction goes, I've been speaking with Kevin Ross. multiple times, as well as Corky, and he has told us that the consensus of the entire group over there is that they would like to hold off on this construction and maybe approach the council later on in the year to see if there is something else they can do. I asked them to provide a petition, a signed petition. They were not able to give that to us tonight, but if they require one, if the council requires one by next council meeting, they are sure they can put one together.
Why do we need a petition to say no with the street? Ain't that,
Well, just in case the council wanted one.
okay.
To prove that it's a majority consensus that they don't want to have the project work done.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. I know the consensus I'm getting for Euclid Avenue is pretty negative on moving forward.
I have talked to more than one person, not all of them, but no one has come forward and said, I want this project. Right. All of the people that
Then
have
that's my
spoken to me.
understanding of the motion that was in the room during the public hearing.
So can I also ask,
That sounds, it sounds reasonable that we shouldn't expect an additional petition indicating consensus for that group.
I guess my question would be, at the end of the day, if we're trying to create better infrastructure for the whole city, that are we giving individual groups the right to not build out the infrastructure for the city?
No.
I mean,
You
like,
know-
is that what in fact we're saying by not
And I
providing?
mean, is this gonna get cheaper anytime?
No.
Exactly.
I mean,
like,
you're looking at
it's-
construction costs, those aren't gonna go down.
Yeah.
I
So-
think, just speaking with the group, Kevin Ross's group, they would just like to hold out from this year and revisit it maybe next year, you know. I'm not sure what that would provide for them, because like I said, I highly doubt construction costs will go down. But they wanted to meet with the council at another time and just see if there are options.
Yeah. So on that note, can I also ask another question? So if we do,
Excuse me, Christie, Clayton was, you probably didn't hear him, Clayton was talking
no,
here.
didn't hear anybody. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Clayton.
So is there any further construction in that area as far as housing down the road?
I believe he still has a couple empty lots that he's trying to develop.
Okay, because I was just wondering if it's something that, if it's being waited on for the purpose of further construction down, upcoming construction as far as additional housing?
I don't understand why anybody would buy a house there if there's no road to the house.
Right.
So can I also ask, if this does go into bidding and it seems excessive, would it make better sense, and maybe Todd, you can chime in on this, for us to consider larger projects which could bring down that cost like per house versus doing these kind of one-off situations where it's just a certain portion of a street? I would think that, you know, based on whatever that cost is if it feels excessive, that maybe we reimagine doing this at a different time, maybe as a larger part of a project in order to bring that cost down for the average homeowner.
My question is if we did that, because right now we're looking at it as a new road for assessing, then if we're assessing that part as a new road and then we bring it down to there, then other people are paying for a new road.
And Morgan, I'm not specifically talking about this particular road, I'm talking
Okay.
about the whole project.
That's certainly possible to look at some alternate way to finance. At this point, that's not before us, but yes, in the future, it could be part of a group of projects to become one. But what this group, I think, is asking us is just to not do it this year, not never do it, but not this year, the way it's set up.
Do we eliminate that one then, off this list?
That's their request, yes.
So I guess to that point, like, what is going to change between this year and next year that would make that different? share?
Probably nothing, but right now, you know, that's very east end of Euclid Avenue, and there's probably 5 homes there, and nobody else uses that road. It's a dead end. So, I guess I'm okay with pulling it and revisit it another time, maybe try to tie it in with a bigger project. If that would help alleviate some costs for the homeowners, I don't know, I'm not an engineer but I mean, if the consensus is out there, and I get where we're going with this, but if the consensus is out there from these individuals on that street when there's only 5 homeowners out there, why move forward with it?
How about the engineer? Could you tell us about it?
Yeah, I mean, just to back up what the mayor had said, Christie, nothing is probably going to change from this year to next year. But this will give them an opportunity to decide, do they want to live with what they've got, the gravel road, or do they want to pay for the improvement? I think that's really what it boils down to, why they want to wait. And they'll have to come to a consensus among themselves if they want to continue with what they have as a gravel road or if they want the improvement.
So does that set any type of precedence for any other street that decides they don't want to have the improvements or the assessment?
That's up to the,
I'm sorry, one more time, Christie?
Does that set any type of precedence for any other neighborhood or group of people on like a street that dead ends, like say Groveland, that they just decide they don't want to have the improvements on the road? I'm not for or against this at this point. I'm just asking, like, is this the right way to go about it?
I can remember one other project that was a dead-end road, that the work proposed was a mill and overlay, and they felt that their road, they were happy with the way the road was. And we tried to explain to them that we wait any longer, instead of being a mill and overlay, it's probably going to be a reconstruction, and they still opted to just keep the road they had. So as far as setting a precedent, I don't know if that's, I guess it could, but like I said, it's, that other project, they just made a decision and we pulled it from the project and moved on, so.
Did we have to do the whole reconstruct?
It hasn't been done yet. They're still driving on what they had back then, so. And it's kind of a similar, I'm trying to think what road it was. It's up behind the fire hall. It's that dead end where Brian Anderson lives. There's about 4 homes, I think, there. And it was all raveling and kind of breaking up, but they said, you know what, we're happy with that. We'll drive on it. We're comfortable with it, so.
To answer your question, Christie, I think it would only set a precedent in the same circumstances. If you have a limited number of homeowners who have a road they're satisfied with and it's not distinguishable from this, I think, yeah, it'd be precedent. But if there's distinguishing factors that are relevant, I don't think it would be precedential.
right, I agree.
Okay.
I think, if this road tied into other roads where there was more volume of traffic, I think we would be having a different conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
I mean, we're having the conversation of, we want these lots to be sold and do all this, and if there's no road there, nothing's gonna happen.
Right, and I understand that too, but I think they'd have difficulties if we went ahead with the reconstruction of Euclid Avenue and Mr. Ross is trying to sell these lots.
Yep.
Then plus you have the assessments on them the way they'd be priced out now, would anybody be interested in those lots? I guess, it seems like the people that want to build in Crookston, just looking in the last few years, they'd rather be on the north end than the south end. So there's really not an activity with building homes on the south end at this point. Doesn't mean a road wouldn't help move lots, but
Do we need a motion on this?
But
Yes, we have
there was a motion,
We have
yes.
a first and a second. As it sits, it's all 5 projects. So if it is something that you do wish to rescind your vote, we need to have Councilmember Menard and Councilmember Cavalier rescind it with the motion to then remove the 2 items.
that would be removing Euclid Avenue and the extension of the Egg Road.
Did I make that motion?
Do you want to wish to
You
rescind?
want to withdraw?
You
yours?
want to
Yes, I would withdraw my motion, yes.
Tim?
Ti-
Councilmember Menard, would you like to?
Yes.
Withdraw?
Yes, I'll rescind my vote.
So,
Okay,
who would
so
like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we
eliminate.
eliminate,
Euclid Avenue to Guthrie Street and the extension of the agricultural road.
right.
Okay, got a motion by Don, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Henry. I guess further discussion.
Just one for clarification, though, that if these bids come in extremely high, that we still have the opportunity to reevaluate this and maybe consider a larger project going forward and not necessarily implementing it this year, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Yes.
That's what I want to make sure about. Okay.
Further discussion. Yes, go ahead.
Again, Robert Gustafson, I live at 341 Houston Avenue. In terms of the, what's going on here and moving ahead with, adopting a resolution, ordering improvements, the part that I think that isn't getting through is when we get these competitive bids, they should be competitive, and we should have 3 bids, and we can look at numbers, and people can look at things. What happened this time last year with the bidding process?
Well, the bidding process was much later, as you know,
Yeah?
and those bids were rejected as being too high.
Right. So this year, what are we expecting with these bids? Is this something real? Do you want them to come in high so you can just, as council, go ahead and hire and do your own construction? I mean, I'm trying to get a hold of this process so I understand it.
First I want to ask, what do you mean by us do the construction? Because I don't
Well,
think anybody here owns a
Let's say that all the,
construction company.
yes, all the bids come in high, council can determine their own way to come out about with constructing the project, correct?
Well, they could reject any and all bids, and then nothing would be done.
Yeah, or you can.
Or you can accept a bid.
From some other contractor that you've been working with, right?
We aren't working with any contractor.
Well, I'm just saying that if all the bids come back and let's say they're all high, you want to move forward with the project, Houston went forward with the construction there to fix the water mains. I'm just asking, how are you guys doing this process? Because last year, the bidding process happened, they came in high, we get bidding again, we look at the numbers and there's only one bidder, what do you do then?
Well, you decide, are you going to accept that bid or reject that bid?
There's no other ways that you,
Robert, I would think the other part, in which I'd mentioned earlier, was that then we reassess if this needs to be part of a larger project to see if the bids then would go down by doing that. And I think that's what we were talking about, what I was mentioning with Ellers, is maybe looking at like a larger project, so that funding per household would go down. And I think that we're all very conscious of the cost. And so we're really looking at what are the other opportunities out there, and that it's not just, well, I guess we got one bid and we're just going to go forward with it. I think we're really trying to be conscious and trying to do our best to be fiscally responsible in this regard.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like last year we tried to bundle everything in together at one time.
We
to
did, and
make
it was,
it lower, and then we had people come in and say, I don't want my project to be my street to be a part of that. So then we had to break it up, and it kicked it down the road even further, and then raised
the
amount of
bids,
bids.
because we bid later, we believe the bids were higher than we anticipate them being this year.
oh, okay. So that helps a little bit. The other part is when they do go out to bid, the idea that you have a pre-bid meeting so you can find out who is bidding your project, if there's going to be 4 contractors or 3, I think that's really important. You're able to talk to those in that pre-bid meeting, let those contractors know about mobilization, what your expectations are, that it's a real project, there's money, and it's going forward. And that they have more time to get the bids, you're serious as a city, and that shows good faith in going forward with the project, and that equals, better numbers. So me living at Houston, I want to see these projects get bid, competitively. I know there's people that want the work out there, and I really like the idea, as a homeowner, you want three roofers to come and look at your house, and you want 3 bids, right? And there's, some numbers you can look at. That's the way I feel about these assessments. People are just really concerned that we're not getting good numbers and that we want better systems in place so we understand what's going on, And I think that would help alleviate some of these problems that you're having with high numbers and not being able to move things forward. The bidding process in terms of making projects bigger, it sounds good, but realistically, we need to know what the costs are at Houston, okay? What that project are. And when it's included with another project, it gets muddy. You know, the mobilization part, when and where it happens, what are the hard costs for us being assessed in the Woods addition? You know, that's what we want to look at. So you're going forward, you're gonna, with these improvements, is there anything we can do to make sure this bidding process is done in a way that's efficient and gets us better bids?
Well, I think, Rich, you want to possibly answer some of,
Yeah.
fill me in here.
Yeah.
You know, in the past, we've always, when the bids have came in, we've always had at least I've seen at least 3 construction for bidding on the project. And then we do a kind of a breakdown of each project for each street, correct?
That's correct, yep. Yep, I mean, last year, like you said, you won competitive bids, and we did get pushed back, so that did probably, contractors filled up their schedules. It did probably limit us to the number of contractors that were really seriously looking at it. This year, now with this approval, our bid opening is gonna be March 16th, Ashley?
March 18th.
18th? So that's obviously much earlier than last year. I would expect at least 3 bids. I mean, I'm just thinking of the contractors that typically bid around here. It's Davidson Construction, Agassiz Asphalt, Spruce Valley,
Their knife.
Knife River, Zavrels, so those are the ones that are typically localized around here that would be bidding on them. So this year, I would expect we'd get at least 3 bids from these people.
And Rich, is it common practice to do that pre-bid meeting with those individuals who are interested?
It's pretty, I have not done a whole lot of pre-bid meetings. Usually the pre-bid meetings are for projects that are complex or they're unique, where you want to explain things to contractors before they bid. Maybe there's site conditions that are unique that you want them to get them on site to see what they are before they start bidding. But for street projects, they're pretty routine, and a pre-bid really isn't needed, in my opinion.
But if one were asked for, you'd be
Oh,
agreeable.
for sure. And like I said, usually I get phone calls from contractors if there's questions about materials or whatnot, so, yeah. So
So you're looking for about 3 bids or more?
I'm sorry?
You're looking for about 3 bids or more than, right?
I would be surprised if we didn't get 3 bids, at least 3 bids.
Been pretty consistent in the past that there's always been 3 bids when it came to opening bids, so.
Right.
Yeah, okay, sounds good.
Corky, could you also address a little bit more what Henry said about polling?
I'm sorry,
Streets
somebody just coughed. I didn't hear what you said.
No, I was just asking if you could address a little bit more what Henry said about the pushback and pulling projects from last year?
Do you understand what you're saying?
Like how we had them all bundled and then we got pushed back, so we had to remove certain projects and then
Yeah, that's-
rebid them.
Right, and what we're trying to avoid is that very thing. We didn't bundle these as one project. They're all separate projects. We hope to get good bids because of that. We also know that we can, if we need to, when we get the bids, see if there are alternatives to the bids we got. Can we bond for them? Can we rebid them? Can we consider alternatives? That's possible, but we broke them apart this year for the very reason that we had last year when we sent them out as one.
Sounds good.
Does that answer your question, Christie?
Yeah, I guess just another point I wanted to address, when Robert mentioned that, just having them bundled doesn't allow, it starts to muddy the waters. I think in the regard that I was suggesting it is more that if you have a specific area with a larger construction project where you're not having those construction crews having to set up and take down and do all those things, my understanding is that the construction and the total cost goes down as well. So I was just thinking about how we could be a little bit more strategic and not just doing these one-offs in various parts of the city, but doing more of a large scale fit of an area. And that's what I was suggesting by that. So based on whatever comes in going forward.
Yeah,
And I would add that at this juncture, we are ahead of the game from where we were last year, and the likelihood of finding ourselves in a situation where we have to completely scale back the projects that we had hoped to accomplish is probably less. So, I'd like to move forward with the vote.
Well, and I would say, again, with the caveat of, depending on what the pricing comes back, I'd like to revisit this if it's not really the best bet for the city and for those homeowners.
So again, to recap, we have Councilmember Cavalier made the motion and Councilmember Fisher second for a resolution approving the plans and specification and calling for bids for the 2024 street improvements to remove the Euclid Avenue to Guthrie Street to McKinley Boulevard, and the extension of the agricultural road approximately 1,100 feet to the south.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Menard? Menard?
Aye.
Hidma?
Aye.
Jurdy?
Aye.
Fisher?
Aye.
Briggs?
Aye.
Cavalier?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right. Thank you, everyone.